We now take you to the broadcast of It's Time with Reverend Nathaniel W. Martin. Here's Reverend Martin.
All right, thank you, Dr. Blackwell. And let me say Hotep Habarigani to my Africana Studies colleagues, contemporaries, allies, friends, and seekers after the truth. Oh, we are all in this thing together, y'all. And let me go on to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, but certainly never good night and never ever goodbye, because as I grow older, I find goodbyes traumatizing. My name is the Reverend Nathaniel Wayne Martin. I'm the pastor of the New Life Institutional Baptist Church here in the city of Los Angeles, and we're worshiping with our sister church, the Shiloh Missionary Christian Church, and we're located at 8916 South Main here in the beautiful city of Los Angeles. And if you're in the area or the Lord should move upon your hearts, I'm going to go by and see just what they're doing. You Google it, it's going to come up, 8916 South Main. You're going to see Shiloh Missionary Christian Church. And right under that, you're going to see the New Life Institutional Baptist Church, and you'll be at the right place, okay? And just let the ushers or anybody know that you heard about us on KTYM Miracle Productions, or you saw us on Facebook. And we're going to have to expand our Facebook offering, sharing, because I want to get those numbers up way past what they are at present. And all of you that are watching, be sure to share with somebody else and hit that thumbs up button so that we can keep the algorithm, as they say, interested in directing more people to our broadcasts. All right, let's get directly into why we're here. All right, it is a social justice offering, and we're trying to stay underneath the hoopalistics. Not because the hoopalistics are not important, they are vital, but for our purposes, in these little 29 to 30 minutes, we need to stay out of the hoopalistics and don't get carried away and don't digress, all right? Now, my 4 scriptures, 2 from the Old Testament. The first one, Ecclesiastes chapter 3, picking up the reading at verse number 15. It says, that which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been, and God requireth that which is past, which is self-explanatory. 16th verse. And moreover, I saw under the sun the place of judgment, that wickedness was there, and the place of righteousness, that iniquity is there, or was there. All right, and so that is for all of these phony, mysterious, and ill-conceived appointments of unworthy, unqualified people to positions, high positions of authority in the Trump administration. You know, when I was in school, they taught you got to get a good education, and you got to go as far as you can go with your degrees, because you'll be able to get a good job. If you don't do that, you don't get no good job, because they're going to ask you where did you go to school and what degrees you got and all the like. And I don't know when that flipped, but it has flipped. And now you got low-level people in high-level jobs that don't have no qualifications for being there. So that's why I choose this verse in the 16th verse of that 3rd chapter. I saw under the sun in the place of judgment that wickedness was there, and the place of righteousness that iniquity was there. Moving on, next scripture is from Micah 6 and 8. Micah 6 and 8, a familiar scripture. It says simply, He hath shown thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. All right. And moving on into the New Testament, we stop by Luke's house, chapter 12, and the first verse, but that's a big verse, and it has a lot of clauses in it, but the clause that I want to zero in on is the last clause of that 12th chapter, first verse, which says, beware ye of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. All right. And we will come back to that hypocrisy in a few minutes. All right. And our catch-all verse, if all else fails, is Paul's epistle to the Ephesian church. And matter of fact, we're trying to get our children, our young folks and our old folks to refamiliarize themselves with their Bible drill, so they won't be looking for 1 Thessalonians in the Old Testament. But I'm digressing too. So in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 11, this is what it says, my beloved. Put on the whole armor of God. I had to stress that because the devil, if you don't cover up yourself, the devil will get in through your pride, through your emotions, through your sexuality, through your sadness, through your fear, or any spot that he can get in at, and he will wreck your life, especially if he gets into your sexuality, your sexual libido, and all of those things. And so you have to put on the whole armor, whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. And verse number 12, which is the catch-all verse, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. All right. I will not take time out to expound on that. I consider it self-explanatory, and since we have so much ground to cover, I move on. However, if you need further exegesis or exposition on those verses, let me know, and we will do a class on that, because you can sum up all of your politics and your social economics in this book that Paul, this epistle that Paul wrote to the Ephesian church. I want to start with Dr. Augustus Corbett. He's a lawyer, Esquire, and he has a podcast called The Defiant Lawyers. And I was listening to him, and he says he has 10 reasons why we should not celebrate the 4th of July tomorrow. And I was also listening today to Tavis Smiley. He was asking Connie Rice and Cornel West what word would they use to define our attitude toward the 4th of July. And I think Connie Rice said conflation, and I forget what Cornel West said, but my word is it should tolerate. We're tolerating the 4th of July. Dr. Augustus Corbett says he's got 10 reasons why we should not celebrate the 4th of July. 1, gutting of the Civil Rights Act. You know, that's what happened this year under this present Supreme Court that just concluded its term in office. And you know, under the 64 and the 65 Civil Rights Act, that was the first time that actually black people in America and everybody else began to see that democracy was possible. And now they have they being the Supreme Court, John Roberts, Samuel Alito, Mr. Honorable Justice Thomas and his ilk have all gutted that Civil Rights Act. It started in 2013 and he finished the job in this term. And John Roberts has made it his lifelong ambition to gut the Civil Rights Act, and he has been successful. So Dr. Augustus Corbett says that that is number one reason why we should not be celebrating the 4th of July, which is tomorrow. Number two, his separate reason was because eliminating the disparate impact. That was a law, a dictum of the federal government, that if you could show that there had been a disparate impact, and by disparate you mean that if it's benefiting this many people, but it's hurting this many people, so you got to be able to demonstrate that. And based upon that ability to demonstrate disparate effects, you could we were able to make good ground in heading toward a more just and equitable country. All right. Let me see. All right, number three, Dr. Corbett says the elimination of 336,000 black female jobs under Donald Trump. When he come back in office, he had this man from South Africa, Elon Musk, demonstrating, had the head of some department that is off the books, not in the Constitution, because only Congress is supposed to institute departments. But Trump had instituted some department called Doge, and I think it was the Department of Government, whatever it was, is what it was. And what they did was go cherry pick all of the good contracts and all of the federal governments and give those contracts to Elon Musk. And I think they put back doors into his experts, his computer experts, put back doors into all those programs, so that even though he's not here, he's going back to South Africa, which he's still there. Him and Peter Thiel and all of that ilk. And I'm digressing. All right, now elimination of 336,000 black female workers, and we don't know whether they were able to keep their pensions or their benefits. You know, because when you get fired, you lose everything. And so, I hope under the civil service protection, which most of them had been under for decades or years, that they were able to keep their monies that they had paid into the pension fund, and I think they have a separate pension fund for government workers, separate from Social Security. Now, but if you resign, okay, you keep everything. But if you get fired, I think you lose all of that. See, that was behind him. His thinking, Donald Trump's thinking, when he fired Mr. Comey. You remember, Mr. Comey was days away from retirement, and Donald Trump fired him. That means he stopped all of his benefits, stopped all his pension, all of his years of service down the drain. But I think Comey was able to go to court and get his pension reinstated. I hope he was. All right, but Dr. Corbett says the elimination of 336 jobs by black female workers in the federal government. That was from the post office on up. All right. Another reason he said we should not have to celebrate the 4th of July is erasure of black history. And Lord, you know, they cutting all the programs that teach black history in the way it should be taught, and that's a good reason right there. And then his next reason is targeting black professionals. Black professionals are being targeted all over the country, not just in the federal government, but he singled out the federal government because General, I think his name was Corbett, Brown. General Brown was asked to retire from his position as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff when Pete Hegseth come in, because Peter Hegseth don't like no black people in no position. And it was rumored that it had been communicated to Peter Hegseth that Donald Trump did not want to stand next to any black general or officer if he could help it. And so Peter Hegseth has tried to bleach white all of the military again. Remember, the military under the original military, even during the Civil War, was what? Separate. You had the colored troops over here, and you had the other troops over here. That's the way it was. That's the way we fought World War I. That's the way we fought World War II. And it wasn't until Harry Truman was trying to get reelected that they were able to get him to end the ban on the military. All right. Then the next reason Dr. Corbett says we should not celebrate the 4th of July is because they are refusing the civil rights enforcement for blacks. And what he means by that is that if you're a black person, you can't go to the EEOC with a complaint no more. As a matter of fact, I'm going to conflate his number 6 reason with his number 7 reason, which was requesting white-only complaints to EEOC, because that's what has happened now. I don't know whether you recall some months back, it hasn't been that many months, that the head of the EEOC put out a public service announcement notifying all white employees that they felt they had been discriminated against, that they could come to the EEOC and file, and that they would look after them and look into the matter. Well, they don't do that for blacks. All right. And so Dr. Augustus Corbett says that's another reason why we should not celebrate the 4th of July. All right. And then his number 8 reason is that dismantling the Department of Education. Now, you remember, Department of Education was a product of Reconstruction when Negroes took charge of the federal government coming out of the Civil War. And they call that era the Reconstruction. It was only 12 years. But in those 12 years, they established public schools for everybody, not just public schools for black people, but public schools for everybody. And the Department of Education was set up during those years, and it has continued, and it investigates, all discrimination in classwork, but now that has been dismantled. As a matter of fact, the lady that's over it is the lady that was over the wrestling, the UFC or whatever you call it, and now Trump put her over. The dismantling of the of the Department of Education. Number 9, attempting to nationalize federal election. Well, the states take care of the election. The federal government doesn't handle or doesn't control or doesn't regulate state election. Each of the 50 states sets up their own machinery for the conduct of their election. And the 10th reason why we should not celebrate the 4th of July is the rejection of black reparations. Well, when I first started this broadcast, I think it was in 2017 or last of 2016, I came on here talking about the fact that we needed reparation. It looked like we was going to get it here in California at that time. But we ain't got the reparations yet. The Japanese got it coming out of World War II under Ronald Reagan. The Jews, by all means, have they made out like bandits with reparations from the Holocaust, so-called. And they have all received billions or trillions of dollars in reparations. But the blacks who endured slavery and endured Jim Crow and endured segregation, we haven't gotten a dime. And when we cry out, they tell us, no, you don't deserve a dime. So that's the way it is. Now, I'm going to stop with that. I'll read a little bit of Ketanji Brown Jackson's spanking of Clarence Thomas this week over the issue of the birthright citizenship. This is Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, with whom Justice Sotomayor joins as to the introduction and part 1 concurring. All right, yeah, she's a doctor, but she's also a judge on the Supreme Court. She says here, despite his long-standing endorsement of a colorblind constitution, Justice Thomas now surprisingly suggests that the citizenship clause was a race-conscious remedial measure relating on to freed slaves such as Dred Scott and those who shared with them certain characteristics, no other homeland, and they called America home. It is for this reason, he says, that children who were born in the United States but to parents not domiciled here are not entitled to claim birthright citizenship. But that narrow vision of the 14th Amendment bears little relationship to the history of its ratification. Even worse, Justice Thomas's telling escapism, she used the word elides, which is, in other words, you're not, there's a lot of things you ain't saying. Elides, that's what it means. You skip him. Where am I now? The entire point of the second founding. The Reconstruction Amendments were an anti-caste, anti-subordination reset for the nation, not a mere spot treatment for the dark stain of slavery. I'm going to keep on reading here, y'all. It is common ground that the 14th Amendment was enacted with the one pervading purpose of securing equal citizenship for the freed slaves. All right. Also true is the fact that this court has time and again denied Americans that promise. But consensus about the 14th Amendment's central motivation does not justify Justice Thomas's myopic treatment of it. The amendment caused a paradigm shift in the trajectory of our nation. The teacher who scolds a student for bullying a classmate hopes the student learns the broader lesson of treating everyone with kindness, not just that one kid. In the aftermath of the Civil War, those who championed the 14th Amendment, both within and beyond Congress, understood the assignment. Their work product used language that transcended race and region, and thereby changed and broadened the meaning of freedom for all Americans. Instead of the limited salve the principal dissent makes it out to be, the Citizenship Clause reflects this universalist approach. All right, the Civil Rights Act of 1866, the predecessor to the Citizenship Clause, was initially drafted as a spot treatment. Senator Lyman Trumbull's first proposal homed in on the freedmen and provided merely that all persons of African descent born in the United States are hereby declared to be citizens of the United States. If that language had prevailed, the view that Justice Thomas asserts today might be well founded. All right, and let me see. 5 minutes? All right, 5 minutes, y'all. Got to roll out here. Let me pick up the reading. Let's see. Might have been, if that language had prevailed, the view Justice Thomas asserts today might be well founded. All right, see post at point 5, finding birthright, citizenship, feudal origins inconsistent with Congress's focus on securing equal rights for the free black. But, here's where she starts over. But Senator Trumbull changed his mind. The day after he submitted that first proposal, he requested to withdraw the original and offer another in lieu of it to the same purport, changing the phraseology. Consistent with the views espoused by activists, Trumbull's new proposal adopted a distinctly universal register. All right. All persons born in the United States and not subject to any foreign power are hereby declared to be citizens of the United States without any distinction of color. This is the language Congress would eventually enact as part of the Civil Rights Act of 1866. And the Civil Rights Act of 1866 would go on to become the basis for the 14th Amendment Citizenship Clause. Senator Trumbull's progression from specific to universal was more than mere word choice. In the face of the virulent anti-immigrant and in particular the anti-Chinese and the anti-Romanized sentiment of that era, language targeting just freed former slaves would have been the path of least or less resistance, but Senator Trumbull, along with those colleagues who took up the same mantle during the do not miss this context. Throughout the mid-19th century, Chinese immigrants to America were often portrayed as coolies, a racial slur, implying indentured servitude and allegiance to a Chinese master. Some members of Congress brought that sentiment to the Civil Rights Act's citizenship-related debates. Notably, focusing his attention beyond freed former slaves, Senator Edgar Cowan, for example, argued that German immigrant children born in Pennsylvania should be citizens, but he argued that Chinese immigrant children should not, because Germans and Chinese were different. See that racism there? In response, Senator Trumbull emphasized that the law he had drafted drew no such distinction. Undeterred, Senator Cowan would warn again, this time during the debates on the 14th Amendment, that the Citizenship Clause would let Chinese immigrants overrun California and double or treble the population of that state. Senator John Cowan Conness of California, where anti-Chinese sentiment was arguably most pronounced, responded that the children begotten of Chinese parents should not be called citizens. I close with Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson's affirmation. She said, "As I have shown in this opinion, the 14th Amendment is not colorblind. Rather, its core principle is that our nation does not tolerate racial caste. That is, the systemic subordination that many, even some who oppose slavery, had wished to perpetuate after the Civil War. So the architects of the second founding did not think or pretend that race didn't matter. All right. Okay. Quite to the contrary, they understood that race made an enormous difference to the lived experience of all concerned and to the fate of our union. Indeed, it is for that very reason that a radical reconstruction was required. All right, so I stop it there. And of course, I could add on, because you know, when they talk about the Roman, you know, they talk about the Italian. The Italians, when they originally came here, were not considered white. And now I've got several books at the house. One is on how the Irish became white and how the Jews became white. But I'm getting out of here, so now if you're working on a job, they don't want to pay you, take my learned and concerned advice and don't work for them. Thank you, Doc. We out of here. Love you. God bless you. Keep the faith. Keep hope alive.